Well, hello everybody. How are you guys doing today, tonight, whenever you are watching? Welcome back to another Tuesday of KBBU's. Where are they now? We have such an amazing close friend of mine that's coming on today to share her journey, and we are super duper excited for her to be here. I know y'all can't wait to see who she is. Okay, all right. But anyway, I wanted to first just make sure that you are subscribed to the KB Michelle Green YouTube channel. We are aired by CTR Media Network everywhere: Apple, Android, Roku TV, Amazon Fire, you name it, we are there. You can also catch us on the CTR Media app as well as other streaming services. So make sure that you are subscribed. Go tell a friend that we air every Tuesday at 6 p.m. to share these amazing KBBU alumni. Okay, these are people who have graduated from our KBBU Kingdom Builders Business University School. And what happens is they go through an undergraduate course and then they come out and they get the opportunity to go on to the VIP master's class. And we have a special and important person today. I am so thrilled to have her come on. So let's go ahead and get the drum roll going for our amazing Mika Davis.
Clap for myself.
Yes, I did. Yes. How are you?
I am fantastic, and I am honored to be an alumni back here to speak with you, Michelle. It's interesting that for the rest of my life, you will always be a part of my story.
Oh, absolutely. I will. I will always be in your life, girl. Yes, you are looking spectacular. By the way, must I say, hey? Yes, you are. Thank you for being here. We are just as honored to have you come back and share your life story with us. So let's get into it, Mika.
Let's
Tell us a
get
little bit
into
about
it.
yourself.
Well, a little bit about me. I like to call myself a dressed up country girl. Even though I live here in Atlanta, I was born and raised in a little town called Ocala, Florida, which is an hour north of Orlando. So I grew up a little tomboy. I was running around, cow tipping, swinging on vines, racing boys
What?
with no shoes on, jumping dirt bikes and four wheelers and riding horses. And I would not trade my childhood for nothing in the world. And I
Wow.
think it allows me to be in dual spaces, right? Be who I am, be laid back, have fun. But also, it taught me how to navigate the inner workings of corporate America, where I could be relatable and professional at the same time.
Wow. Now that's something that I did not know about you, girl. I'm trying to tell you, like, what? I didn't know that
Listen,
we had such similarities.
listen, let me tell you how much of a tomboy I was that I threatened the cute boy in the neighborhood that if he didn't kiss me, I would punch him in the face.
Oh my God.
We won't say any
Oh
names to
my
protect the
goodness.
innocent, but yeah.
I love that. I love that. That is so funny. But I am a country girl myself, so I can definitely relate to being in the country, raised and, like you say, swinging from vines, picking different foods, all kinds of fruits and vegetables all around, running in those dirt roads and just popping willies on bikes and everything. Yes,
Listen, and
I
driving at
remember.
13. Okay, driving
Okay,
down the dirt roads.
girl, yes. Absolutely, absolutely. I had no idea we had such similarities. Wow, that is amazing. So you grew up as a country girl, but you got the city look on, honey. Okay, I love it. I love it. So as you grew older, what was your first type of employment?
Well, I always knew growing up, I wanted to be three things. I wanted to be a teacher, I wanted to be a
Mm.
good wife, and a good mother. Therefore,
Oh.
growing up in the country, I always played the teacher and I always played the mama,
Me
which
too.
wasn't too far gone because I'm the oldest of two other siblings, and so
Wow.
as the oldest, you most of the time have to be mama. So that wasn't too
Right.
far of a stretch. And so I entered college knowing, okay, I want to be a teacher. It was my fifth grade teacher, Miss Kickard, uh, who really inspired me when I made that decision in fifth grade. Okay, I'm sorry, fourth grade. I want to be a teacher. And
Wow.
so went off to college, go Gators. And
Hey.
I got into my last year and I was like, I don't want to do this. I did
What?
my observation hours, and being in the classroom, so much had changed. That particular year, they were doing integration. And the teacher's class that I was observing, I told her, I said, how do you all do this, right? Kids moving in and out the classroom. They no longer had teacher aides, and it was chaos to me. And
It
in
sounds
Florida,
like.
everything was standardized testing. And I realized there
Yes.
was no more space for creativity in the classroom.
Mm.
But I was already 10 toes down in it. And so after school, I taught for 1 year and I
Okay.
ended up in HR.
Wow. Now, ending up in HR from being a teacher, that's a big change. So, what led you into HR? Was it just that you were trying something brand new, or you just decided that you didn't want to be a teacher anymore? What happened?
Yeah, and it wasn't that I didn't want to be a teacher because I love students. I love the youth. I love high school students. Because what I didn't want to do all day is tell little Johnny, stop pulling her hair, get the pencil out your nose. No, you can't go to the bathroom. That was not the life for me.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and what I realized about high school students was that was the age where they just needed encouragement. They just needed to know everything was going to be okay. Like this was not the end. And I
Right.
love that. But it was the politics surrounded
Oh.
by the education system that broke my heart in pieces. And I realized that it was so much bigger than me. And yes, teachers have some impact on students, but what I witnessed was heartbreaking. So I just decided to go with the temp agency. And they had a job come available at the Walt Disney World. And she said, I think you would be a good fit after interviewing you. And I went with Disney temporarily and then went on full time to help run their internship program and was over events. So that's how I got in
Wow.
HR.
That's amazing. That should have been like something huge in your life because the Walt Disney? Come on now. Go
Big
Florida.
time.
Hello. Come on. All right. Now. Okay. So yeah, what was that like working for the Walt Disney?
So I'm gonna be transparent. My first week at Disney, I called my mom and I was like, I think these people are on drugs. And she was like, what? I said, there is no way you could be this happy every single day. Like this
Oh my
is, I'm like, all these people love their job.
oh
I
my
just,
God. You are so funny. Oh my
I'm like,
God.
they
It's
got some
hilarious.
weed they passing around that I don't know about. And she just laughed. But as time went on, I realized that it was an amazing company, not because of the pay and not because of Walt Disney World, but it was the opportunity that was given. One thing about Disney, a lot of people don't know, every 2 to 5 years, they like to change you around to different divisions so that you don't get stuck. That was number
Right.
one. The second thing that impressed me is the involvement of leadership. So even though we were on the corporate side of things, and I started out at the Magic Kingdom, and I won't
Oh.
tell some of the secrets because it'll ruin the aesthetics. But every day we had to go out for at least 1 hour, and we call it on stage.
Oh.
And we had to pick up trash. We had to interact with, we called them guests that were at Walt Disney World. And to see high level execs, and we were suited and booted in Florida in 100-degree weather,
Oh
out
my
picking up
gosh.
trash. And I feel
Really?
like that keeps you humble. It keeps you connected to the job that you signed up to do. And for me to hold leadership accountable, that was a beautiful thing.
That is amazing. I've never heard of a job that would have high-end executives come out to greet the customers and pick up trash. Like,
Walt
that
Disney
is
is the cleanest
humility.
place in the world.
Wow, that is humility at its finest. I love that idea. Look, I might be taking on some of those ideas from you. Okay, Walt Disney. All right. Okay. All right. So after this sounds also like great leadership, like you said. So I'm sure you were beginning to pull together some ideas about what things you wanted to achieve in your own business life, or were you thinking about entrepreneurship at that time?
Not at all. So being
Really?
in not at all. Being in Florida, being a preacher's daughter,
A
um,
PK kid in the house.
girl, that's a whole nother story. And for the record, let me say this since we have an audience. Preacher's kids are not the worst ones. We are the most neglected. And I'm gonna leave that one there. That's
Oh,
a whole nother
silky
subject.
now. All right, stir up some comments down below.
But I had never been exposed up close to an entrepreneur. No one in my circle.
Wow.
I always knew there was something in me that wanted more. I did
Uh-huh.
not know what that more was because at this time I'm living in Orlando. I did not know what that more was. And it was
Wow.
even more outside the church because PK kids, you in church all the time. And I
Exactly.
always felt like there was something more, but I did not know what that more was until moving to
Really?
Atlanta.
Oh my goodness. So you transitioned from Florida to Atlanta. Were you still working at Walt Disney, or you got a different type of a job moving
So
you
I
to
was
Atlanta?
I was working at Disney, but I was not happy with the supervisor, and it was not the company. And I learned in HR, most times you do not quit your job, you quit your manager.
Yes.
And I had applied for this job, completely forgot, and I got to the place where I never thought I would get, where I would literally pray before going into work so
Wow.
that I just would not have anxiousness and anxiety. That's how bad it had gotten. And I decided to resign. And at that point in my life, because I had been working since I was 15, shout
Really?
out to future business leaders of America
Hey.
in high school. I had never quit a job. I'm a loyalist, but I got to the point where I just couldn't do it anymore. Full circle, maybe a year later, General Electric called me about a job they had frozen that I had completely forgotten about,
Okay,
that I had
TV.
applied for, and I got the job, and that's what brought
Really?
me to Atlanta. And it was also wanting a new change in life, right? I was
Yeah.
divorced, I have two sons, and I just wanted a start over, a do over, like a reset. And that's what Atlanta was for me, a reset.
Okay, awesome. So you had a couple of you got married, you had a couple of babies, and then it was a brand new life for you. So you were in like your 30s around this time that all of this was going on.
My 40s. I
Really?
know
You
I
were
look
in
good
your
for that
40s.
age.
Hey, girl, you don't look like it, honey. You don't. You do not. Oh, that's amazing. So you were in your 40s and you were starting over basically from scratch with
Absolutely.
were your kids, were they grown or were they like teenagers or
One was off in college, and the youngest was preparing to graduate.
nice, nice, nice. So they weren't like little babies, but
No,
starting over is still starting over. So that can be very tough.
they was
Okay,
big
so
dusty babies. Because as a mama, they are always your babies, but they was big dusty babies.
absolutely. Absolutely. So you're starting over, you're working at GE now. Tell us a little bit about what that experience was like being at GE, because I know there had to be a transition just with the atmosphere of all of the laughter and smiles and hugs and stuff at Walt Disney. And then you're transitioning to corporate in HR. Like that probably was a big shift, right?
It was a big shift, but it was a big shift for the better. I like to call Atlanta the Africa of America.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
and so coming to GE, and I remember stopping by the building before work, the first week started, and seeing the diversity and seeing Black people in high executive positions. I had never been exposed to that. And so
Wow.
my first day at General Electric, I literally felt like my first day visiting Walt Disney World. So General Electric was my Walt Disney World again.
Okay. Okay. That's beautiful. United States, Africa. Okay, I like that. I like that. I'm gonna start using that now. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, because you get a chance to see and be around an environment that sometimes us as African Americans, we don't actually see or have the opportunity to be around a lot of us, depending on where we came from, depending on where we live now. I know some friends that they live and they're like, okay, they're probably the only person that is African American there. Okay, so I get it. I get it.
And
So that
I was used to being the only black female and
right.
black in the backstage of corporate America.
I believe
And
it.
but it wasn't just black people. It was General Electric was literally, it was more diverse than, let me say, the corporate side of of Disney.
Okay.
There were Asians, there were Middle Easterns, there were Africans, I mean, it was a big melting pot. And to me, I was so proud to be there in the
Yes.
middle of all of this diversity.
I can imagine. So that definitely shifted your perspective on the world. Being able to work with people from all different locations in the continents. Oh my goodness. I think I would have loved that myself.
It
Okay.
was
Because
it
I'm
was
all about
beautiful.
diversity. Yes. All right. So you were working at GE and HR. How was that going for you with the HR position? Now you're kind of in your flow. Are you loving HR? Are you hating it? What's going on?
I loved it. First of all, GE will always be one of the best companies to work for. Uh,
Love it.
it was ahead of its time. So with GE, we already knew before the pandemic the work from home option.
Oh
Um,
my God.
and so the flexibility that it gave, it was voted several years one of the best places to work as a single mom.
Oh my
Um, so
goodness.
with both of my boys being in baseball, I was able to travel the nation with them as well and still show up, and not be, working in corporate America. You know how it is. Like, you're so busy serving someone else's company, that you miss out on a lot of things in life. And it
Yes.
gave me the opportunity to still be a very present parent. And I
That's
will never
good.
forget, shout out to my one of my managers, Brendan. I told him, I said, hey, I wanted to come in and ask you if I could, take some time off. I need to go this place for the boys. And he looked me square in my face and he said to me, don't you ever come in my office again and ask me permission to go see
What?
your children anywhere. He said, you come in my
Oh,
office and you tell me that you're taking off to go see your
oh
children.
my
You're
God.
not asking me permission.
Wow, I love that. Shout out to him for real. Go, Brandon. Hey, that is good. That is good because you rarely find that in corporate America. I'm
Yeah.
trying to tell you, especially in the US, baby. What
Yes.
is that? They don't know what that is.
He
Okay.
said we're both adults, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. And God is so funny because as I stated, I knew I wanted to be a teacher since fourth grade. Well, part was being an HR manager, and the other part, I was a senior recruiter. So not only did I get to recruit interns, once they came in, I was a part of their entire internship with professional
Oh,
development and networking, and how to update your resume, how to speak in boardrooms. And so I still got an opportunity to essentially be a teacher, but it was at the college level with internships.
that's
Um,
amazing.
and so I loved being that bridge, giving opportunities, and even teaching other recruiters how to look past nervousness and see potential. And so the beauty of bringing in students that probably on a normal basis wouldn't have been chosen for internships,
Hmm.
for all of them to come in, I would say I had a 99% uh, graduation level from the internships into our leadership programs, as well as not having to fire any interns.
Oh, that is excellent, honey. Yes. So you were doing your thing, recruiting, handling all of the interns. I love dealing with young people myself, especially at that age where they're like in college or maybe just about to graduate from high school and just teaching them the ropes of adulthood. That is amazing.
At
That
the
is
real life of adulthood,
yeah, the
right?
real life, not what's in the book. Okay.
Yeah, so I got to go into a lot of schools. A lot of teachers and principals would reach out, and I would come and talk to the students. And one of the things that I like to teach is that with internships, and why it's so important and why it's so valuable is because it will teach you most of the time what you don't want to do, right?
Mm.
Because a lot of students go off to college and they had someone say, "Oh, I think you would be great at this." But during the internship, you actually get to either understand this is what I don't want to do, or this
Yeah.
is everything I thought it was, or you get
Mhm.
exposed to something you didn't even know about. Like I had one intern, he went in as a chemical engineer. And then after his internship, he ended up changing his major to become an industrial engineer, which is the business side of
Wow.
things. And so that's the beauty
Amazing.
that I got to still teach in corporate America.
Look, that might be something you need to bring back, honey. Okay, that sounds amazing. Incredible, incredible impact to the young people. I know you had such a great impact in their lives. I really am loving this interview right now. I am loving it. Okay, you're inspiring me, waking up some old stuff. Okay, so hey, we got to talk after this. All right, we got to talk after this. All right, so you were doing HR, you were doing the internship thing, and then what kind of took a turn in your life?
Well, coming to Atlanta was the big turn. One, I was exposed to uh, a lot of business owners, but a lot of people that I worked with had side hustles, had side
Oh.
businesses. And I was confused because most of them were making six figures. And I'm trying to understand, why is it that they have these side hustles or these businesses. But it wasn't until then that I understood legacy, right?
Mm.
And generational wealth, from the standpoint of not just working for someone but having your own. And that's when I realized many of them were using their daytime job to fund their dreams. And so I'm
Mhm.
sitting here and making more money than I've ever made in my life, and I'm questioning myself. Well, do I need a side hustle? Do I need a business?
I love that. So, what did you decide?
So I got presented with an offer for a hair extension company, and it was with a man, who was bald, and
What?
he said, "Yeah." He said, "Your hair is always amazing." And we had a conversation and I prayed about it. And we started this company called Honey Hair.
Honey
And that
hair.
was my first time, first experience with business.
Mm-hmm.
It also was an opportunity to see behind the scenes. And but as I would later learn in KBBU, it is more to a business than just having a gift. or being able to sell a product. There's so much more. But I needed that experience to then be able to understand the value of like a KBBU.
Oh, so what was your time span with honey hair?
So with Honey Hair, maybe 3 years. And we
3 years.
did 3 years. And I must say that when we take opportunities, sometimes you go in thinking one thing, but you come
Mm-hmm.
out learning something completely different. And that's when I first understood that I was good with marketing. Didn't even
Okay.
really know anything about marketing, but because I was so passionate about the hair and educating, once again, back to education, educating people about our high end hair extensions, uh, we ended up getting picked up by New York Fashion Week. We also was the
Nice.
official sponsor of the Miss United States pageant, the Miss Dominican
Beautiful.
Republic, and Miss Africa.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. Yes.
and out of the top two, it was my marketing, and they saw me marketing on Facebook, and they actually reached out to me, Miss United
That's
States and New York Fashion Week.
Oh my God, congratulations. That's
Thank
beautiful. That
you.
is cool. I love that. That's a big deal. Okay, so you were working there for about 3 years. Um, and were you staying there? Were you deciding that you were going to do your own thing at that point? Were you thinking about actually going into business for yourself? What happened that took the turn with the marketing? Like, where did you end up then?
So what ended up happening was at this particular time, a lot of people were, I like to say, selling hair out of their trunk, right?
Yes.
Um, we were entering the bundle area.
Yeah, yeah, I
Um,
remember that. I do.
And so, women were like, well, why would I pay this much for hair when I could pay this much? And so then that's when I realized, okay, we got to change our demographic, right? So
Okay.
then our customers became those who valued uh, expensive extensions. So we went to the doctors and the lawyers and that caliber of audience. Well, the hair was so good as we had been advertising. Guess what? That turnover wasn't as quick, right? Because people were
Oh.
keeping their hair extensions and we were teaching them how to keep hair extensions for 2, 3 years.
Oh,
Then they
wow.
started buying for their daughters. But the
Oh,
turnaround wasn't as quick. And so then we began to shift into the new industry of a lighter hue, right? And so outside of African Americans, uh, we had Caucasian people that understood the value of expensive hair extensions. So we got into the clip ins and the I tips, U tips, and the taped hair. And that's when we began to see it take off. Well, being here in Atlanta and me marketing, we had this pull on us, and both of us were still in corporate America, where they wanted us to teach them how to use that particular style of hair extensions. And we were looking at each other, and I was like, I'm not going to hair school. Like, that's a no.
okay.
Um, and he was like, well, I'm definitely not going to hair school.
Right.
And so things started to kind of fizzle. But if we
Yeah.
were smart and we had the right business acumen, we would have understood that this was a whole nother opportunity to hire teachers to come in
Yes.
and teach on those particular extensions. And we didn't. And
Oh,
we ended up going our separate ways in a good way.
okay.
But it gave me exposure to so much that
I
I will
can
probably
imagine.
circle back in that arena a few years down the road.
Okay. So were you still working at GE at the time you were with
I
Honey
was.
Hair? Okay,
Yes.
so you had your own side hustle too.
I
You
had
learned
my
the
own side.
ropes. Okay, that makes sense.
And
That makes sense.
and the experience
Awesome.
was amazing to be able to go to a Miss United States pageant and see how that was ran, to be behind the scenes at New York Fashion Week. Like that wasn't even on my radar. That was never a dream, but it felt like a dream being there. But as I said, being with Honey Hair introduced me to the marketing side of things. And that's when I kind of moved into social media marketing for small businesses.
Okay, so you were still working with GE, and now the hair, honey hair, has kind of fizzled out. So you move into marketing,
Social media marketing.
social media marketing. All right. So tell us a little bit about the social media marketing arena.
So I got into it and I was loving it. So a friend actually asked me, and I got into it and I loved it. She got exposure. People were calling her. She was in interior design,
Hmm.
and I got excited about it. And so other friends started asking me. But what I realized was I only liked doing it for friends. I thoroughly enjoyed seeing, and I guess because I got to see, I had a front row seat to the impact that I was
Right.
actually having.
Okay.
And then fast forward, um, in 2019, right before the pandemic, GE did some massive layoffs,
Oh
and I was a
man.
part of that. And so then I took my business full time. But then when the pandemic hit, the first thing to go on everyone's budget was marketing.
Yes. Why is it that as entrepreneurs, and I'm just speaking to our audience out there, especially those who are watching that are entrepreneurs, because I know y'all be in this video. I know y'all be on our station. So when we think about marketing as entrepreneurs, even myself, I am just now coming into the reality of without marketing, you don't really have a business. So instead of looking at it from the aspect of we're not going to pay for the marketing portion of our businesses, we got to flip that thing and understand that without marketing, we will go out of business, especially in today's time. I mean, talk about it, Mika.
Well, when we think back to the pandemic, the people who prospered were the people that understood marketing. Because
Yes.
now more than ever, people aren't just being marketed to on their computers and laptops, they were being marketed to on their cell phones. And so during the
Yes.
pandemic, everyone was on their cell phones. And so
Yes.
those who understood the value of marketing was the ones who prospered. And those who did not, sadly enough, ended up out of business.
That is the truth. So help me God. Because I'm telling you, we even did a shift. We were doing KBBU. We were doing KBBU in person. We were trying to meet for 4 weeks at a time with entrepreneurs during the day hours when they were actually supposed to be doing their job, and that wasn't working. And so when the pandemic hit and we decided to go all virtual, then KBBU just exploded. So I know what you're saying is the truth, because if we hadn't shifted with the change, and especially the shift of the change with marketing, I started increasing my time on social media. I started sending out email blasts and doing things that I had never done before. And I was like, whoa, well, wait a minute. Now I'm getting some traction here. People are interested. And before you knew it, it was like we were rolling. We were the bomb.com, as I call it. So I get it. I get it. Totally get it. And I'm understanding more and more every day about how important marketing is. Media is the way to go. I'm telling you, it is the way to go.
And most people
So,
create budgets, and marketing isn't a part of that.
oh, it's
Um,
not, because
yeah.
it wasn't for me. It was not for me. Like, it wasn't even a thought, a second thought. I was like, okay, well, I'll just go on social media every now and then, or I'll put an ad in a magazine or something every blue moon. But it was never on my heart to really just full blown pay for a department for marketing. That's crazy.
And that is why KBBU is so important.
So let's talk about it. So you started doing your own business in marketing. And by doing that, what transpired later on in your life?
So after the pandemic, I literally lost all of my clients.
Oh, man.
Um, and that was, yeah, it happened in March. By April, I had no clients.
Goodness gracious.
Then June 3rd comes, I'm diagnosed with breast cancer. And
Jesus.
so I'm like, okay, I've lost my corporate job. I've lost all of my customers. I no longer have the insurance that I paid many, many years on and never really used. And now that I need it, I don't have it. And
God.
I had someone come to me and they asked me, had I ever thought about becoming a life coach? And it was interesting because while at GE, I really felt like in my office, it was a makeshift red couch that everyone would come and sit on. And they would leave out and they would always say, you should become a coach. And I really didn't understand what a life coach did. And I just blew everybody off. But
Right.
everyone, even jobs I would interview for, they would be like, have you ever thought about life coaching? And I'm like, sir, you're insulting me. I'm looking for a job. Okay. So while being diagnosed, I entered into a life coaching program for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And the beauty that came out of that is in life coaching, one, it also taught me how to deal with clients and customers. The other thing it did was it kept my mind. I had a bigger vision than what I was currently going through. So I had something else to look forward to every week, which was my life coaching classes. And so while being diagnosed and going through chemo, I ended up getting my life coaching certification. I created
Congratulations.
a journal called the Goalmate Planner to help people with their goals. I was able to speak on national stages about how to date your goals, how to treat your goals as if this was someone you were inspired to be in covenant with.
Right.
Um, and so, yeah, and after that, things took another turn. And one thing my
Really?
mom always taught me: bend but don't break. And so sometimes we get ourselves in trouble or within this frustration of feeling like we were only put here to do one thing. But
Mm-hmm.
when we have purpose, it's understanding in that particular season, what am I to apply my purpose to? And so in my older years, I'm understanding that sometimes we weren't meant to do things for the rest of our lives. Sometimes it's just a season and be okay with letting go of that season.
That part. Okay, I love that. Now, so we're saying that you were in the middle of finding out that you had breast cancer, and I'm so sorry to hear that. But you look like you have not been through that whole journey. I cannot imagine. So my hands out, like hands up to you, because like, girl, that is a lot. That is a lot. I don't know very many people that could say that they're going to use a life coaching opportunity to offset having breast cancer and going through that whole process. So what that has taught me in this moment is that you always got to be focused on the dream. You always got to be focused on the dream. And if you being focused on the dream could get through having breast cancer by focusing on your goal, that allowed you to overcome what you were going through.
Well, let me say this, Michelle. Even at that point, I didn't know what the goal was. It was an opportunity that was presented to me. And yes, I used it to focus on something else. Now, let me be clear. I allowed myself to feel what I felt going through that.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
remember the day of the diagnosis, getting that call. I was at Duck Donuts, getting my favorite donuts. And the phone rang because I had done a biopsy. The phone rang, and the doctor told me that it was stage 4 cancer.
Jesus.
And I do not to this day remember the drive home from the donut place to
I can
home.
imagine not.
And I just remember getting in the tub, crying for at least 3 hours. And
Whew.
my only exposure to cancer was what I had seen on TV. And so to me, I thought my life was over, that I was going to go bald and become very fragile and throwing up all the time and no energy and all the things. And I did not want my family to go through that. And a transparent moment, I got in bed after getting out the tub, crying my eyes out. And I said, God, I don't want to put my family through this. I said, so when I go to sleep, I don't want to wake up.
What?
And sure enough, 6 a.m. comes, my eyes wide open, and I was like, well, I guess you didn't hear the prayer, so let's go. What we doing? How are we going to do this? And
Wow.
from that day, I did not focus on the diagnosis. I focused on the outcome.
Wow, that is so amazing. That is so amazing, Mika. Wow, wow, wow. So your focus was, first of all, I see and hear that you had a foundation in God. It wasn't like you were guessing if he was your father or if he could do this or if he could do that. You knew to go to him, to ask him for help, and you trusted whatever the outcome was going to be after you made your prayer, after you petitioned the courts. You literally trusted that whatever was going to happen when you either woke up or didn't wake up, that it was in his hands and you knew that that was going to be the best outcome, period. So
And that
let's
was
just,
also a time that I became unafraid of death.
that
I
is
remember asking my
amazing.
spiritual mom, I said, I can only ask you this because my mother wouldn't understand this question. And I asked her, I said, how do I know to pray and have faith? Or if this is just my time? And she said, you don't. She said, you don't know. She said, but if it is your time and you're a believer of God, you will be at peace. Because God is not going to take anyone away from this earth who's terrified of seeing his face.
Ooh,
And
I
now
love that.
that was the moment I
Marinate,
became unafraid of
marinate.
death.
Yes, yes, yes. That is a real wake up call, authentic at its core. I'm trying to tell you, like, wow, I've never heard it explained that way. Someone
Yeah.
that will be terrified to see his face. Wow, that's huge. That's huge.
But at that
Something to think
moment,
about.
the only thing I had to live for, or I was looking forward to living for, was my sons. Because I had transitioned, I had lost all of my clients. I no longer had this cushy corporate job. I didn't know what was next. I didn't really know what life coaching entailed or really looked like on the other side. Um, and so, but I was bending and not breaking. I was just going with the flow to see, what was going to come on the other side of getting through cancer as well as life coaching.
Wow. So, what ended up happening with the whole situation with breast cancer? Can you tell us that outcome?
Yeah, so January this coming year will be 5 years because they don't like to call you cancer free until 5 years. Um, but it was, and one day we'll dive deeper into this. I wanted to do it holistically, and I had a holistic doctor, so I was really confused because I was eating right, I was working out, didn't understand where cancer came from. Nobody on either side of my family had had cancer. And so I really thought that I wanted to do it holistically. And I kept calling my doctor for 4 weeks and could
Wow.
not get a hold of her.
What?
And the night before chemo was to start, she called. And it was crazy. I'm like, you're calling me now. But long story short, I did not at that particular time. I had already set in my mind, here's the plan, with chemo, um, surgery, and radiation. And so what I decided to do was, okay, now I no longer have the faith to do it completely holistically. So I did both. And
Oh,
I actually gained 30 pounds on chemo. My mom was like, I've never seen anybody gain weight on chemo.
wow. That is
And
what?
everything that the holistic doctor, we were working together to do the supplements. everything that chemo was taking out, the supplements were putting back in. And so my doctor
Goodness.
confused, like, okay, wait a minute, this is what should be happening. These are the symptoms and the side effects, and why isn't it happening? And it was because of the work I was doing with my holistic doctor as well.
Because what God did is He put the right move in your heart. Woo! I love that. It's beautiful. My goodness. Congratulations.
Thank
Congratulations. That is so amazing. Wow, wow, wow. So let's transition into okay, so things weren't working. You found out about the chemo, and now it's you're healing, you're getting better, you're doing better. So, did you go back into social media marketing? What happened that led you to KBBU?
So at 2019, I started an organization called Sisterhood University, and it was a safe space for women in business and women who were looking to go into business. We would meet once a month and discuss different topics about finance, what was going on in corporate America, how to transition, all these different things. And so that was another thing that during my chemo journey, I still focused on. So during the pandemic,
Okay.
we went from meeting in person to meeting virtually. So every month I was
Nice.
looking forward to that. And it was through Sisterhood University that I met a young lady who was actually in KBB University, but she had opted to the version where it was one on one.
Yes, private strategy sessions.
Yes. And so she was so excited. I don't even know. Oh, we were talking about my goal mate planner. And she was like, I need you to meet a woman. She's like, first of all, I think y'all gonna hit it off. And I was calling to talk to you about the planner. 2 hours later, the planner never came up. I was like, okay,
It
how do
did
I enroll
not.
in your class?
Oh my gosh, that is so funny because it really did not. We hit it off immediately. We were just on the phone, just laughing and just carrying on. I'm telling you, so many similarities, so many people that we know that are in our circles. I mean, it's just amazing. It's just amazing. So, yes. So, you were doing just the sisterhood at that time, or did you find another job to go to? What was going on?
No, so at the time I met you, I was really frustrated with having a successful organization to the outside, what appeared outside to be successful. But financially, it was not. And there
Wow.
were, um, I'm very big on people perish because of the lack of knowledge.
Yes.
And when you look at another version of that scripture, it says, people perish because they fail to attend to the vision that's already been given.
Exactly.
I'll say that
Exactly.
one more time for the people in the back.
Okay.
We perish because we fail to attend to the vision that's already been given. And
Mm.
so, in contacting and having that conversation with you, I was at a point where I was frustrated because I hadn't really dived deep into business acumen. And so many of us go into business because we have a gift or we have a product to sell, and we have no clue about business acumen on how to keep that business afloat outside of our gift and those products.
Oh, you are speaking the truth right now because I'm telling you, so many people who have come through our university. And it's a constant over and over again. It's the entrepreneur that thinks that they can do business alone. They never have to hire anybody. They never have to have any team a part of their organization. They don't have to deal with people other than their clients, and they minimally want to deal with those individuals who are their clients. And they think that that's the way to do business, but honey, I'm here to tell you and the world out here, like you already know, that is not it.
That is
That's not it. Okay? You have to have business savviness. You have to understand how the internal behind the scenes of business works. And that's exactly what we teach at KBBU. So I was so elated to meet you through the young lady that referred us. I think her name was Sheree Moore. Sheree
Yeah,
Moore.
yeah.
Yes. And she referred us and we connected and we just started talking. I think we had a class that was coming up. And then you
Maybe even in 2 weeks. It wasn't long.
It was not. It was like, boom, here we are talking on the phone. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh my God, the class is going to start in a couple of weeks, maybe a week. I don't even think it was 2 weeks. But
You sent
whenever,
me an email, and just looking at the things you were going to cover in the class, I was like, oh my gosh. I think I emailed you or text you, and I was like, I need to be a part of this class. How do I sign up? And it was just the intro email. It was
yeah, it
just the
was just
intro
the
email.
intro email because we do cover a lot. We try to make sure that every business owner gets everything that they need from every aspect, things that they never thought about before, things that they never even knew existed, as it pertains to business. So we want to make sure that anyone that's coming through our organization, they're going to get it all. We are the one-stop shop for business owners. I keep saying that. People don't believe it until they come in. So you came to KBBU, and what was your experience like at the very beginning?
First of all, the very like the opening of the class, I was blown away, right? Like I've never been in
Wow.
a class where someone is going to pray for you before the class even starts. Okay. Let's start there. I was blown away. But I was so excited to be there because Michelle, do you know how many Wizard of Oz businesses are out here? Well, you're a
Oh,
teacher, so you should. We
Wizard
have
of
so
Oz
many
businesses,
wizard.
Mika. I'm sorry. You got me with that.
Ma'am, out here just looking good to the world behind the scenes.
Toe up from the flow up, right? I
If
know, I
somebody pulled
know.
back the curtains of your business, what would they see?
Wait, you are
What would they
preaching
see?
now, honey. You are preaching now.
And I
Woo!
and I just I no longer just wanted to be a a entrepreneur. I wanted to be an educated businesswoman. And as I
Yes.
talked about, I love education, and so. But then there's also analysis paralysis to those who are like me, where we're obsessed with knowledge. And
Yes.
one of the things that KBBU challenged me with, and one of the things that was most important that I enjoyed the most, is that this is a business class that you will enter, and you don't just have homework, but your homework is actually working on the business. And so we go
Correct.
to these colleges and we go to these universities with people who don't own businesses, right?
Correct.
They're they're reading. You're learning from a textbook, and with KBBU, we're learning from someone who is in real time business. Like you're running a business outside of KBBU, right?
That's right.
So there's always constant examples. But the other part of the education is the implementation. And that
Yes.
is what I loved about KBBU.
Thank you so much. We try our best to make sure that we understand, like in real life business, as you're saying, like we have to learn as we are working. Okay. You cannot just do one part of it. Execution is not information. It's
And
the,
your class will tell us if you really want to be in business.
okay. It will
Now,
break you
now
down. Yes,
you
it will.
can you can have a dream and keep dreaming, but KBBU is the wake up.
That's
Because you
right.
can keep your eyes closed and dream all day, every day, but KBBU is going to make you wake up and ask that question: do you really want to live what you've been dreaming? And if you
That's
do,
it.
it's time to wake up.
That's it.
It's time to
And
wake up.
we'll lead you right on into 6 and 7 figure incomes. But if you realize, like, wait a minute, I just want to be an employee. Let me go be an independent contractor for a corporation or whatever. Yeah. You will figure it out. It will help you to be very clear on what it is that you are supposed to be doing. Yep, that's what it's all about. Thank you for sharing that. So you came through the undergraduate class for like 5.5 months last year, 2024, winter spring semester course. You graduated. Congratulations. Got your certificate finally. I
But
forgot
wait,
to send
Michelle,
that out.
wait, I graduated, but remember in the process of that, I came in wanting to expand Sisterhood University into a membership based organization. Well, God had different. And in doing the homework and sitting still and discovering your why and understanding what it is that you're doing and getting quiet and doing the homework, a whole nother business
Oh,
erupted out of this class. And that was the Connectium. And that was actually, it was the revelation of what Sisterhood University was even all about, which was connecting people. That
yes.
is what KBBU. I mean, I think Dr. Tina, she talked about she came out with two, three more businesses.
Yes, that's right.
And so even though Sisterhood University, I'm not it's on pause right now because there's so many other things. I do really feel like that is ministry. That's something God revealed to me. But the Connectium is the purpose we talked about earlier, right? Like out
Yes.
of all the things I've done, all the people that I've connected with, um, I made a whole business out of connecting people.
Yes, you have. Congratulations. It is such an amazing company, and we are working together even right now through the Connectium. Hey, y'all better come on, give her a call. Mika, how can they get in touch with you regarding the Connectium right now if they are interested in learning more about how you collaborate? Entrepreneurs together, how you connect us, how you put us together, you see a good fit because you just referred someone to me that's in AI, and I'm like looking at bringing her in to instruct the KBBU future classes on AI, artificial intelligence. Hello, come on.
Yeah. So the Connectium, it's a modern day concierge for entrepreneurs and professionals, and we're not just a networking group because even in class, I ended up launching a whole connecting event.
Sure
But we're
did.
we are a connection agency. And so, what I help entrepreneurs do is curate strategic introductions, building personalized roadmaps, and I offer a referral based service. And so, sometimes as business owners, we don't have time to connect. And so, my new coin phrase is the connections are your new currency, right?
Yes, it
Sometimes
is.
it's not what you know, it's who you know. And just like
No.
this Monopoly board, it can move you 10 paces forward by not trying to do this by yourself. And so
I'm
people
trying.
are craving real connections. And that is something that I enjoy doing is getting you connected with someone who's actually going to help move you forward.
Oh my goodness. I love this so much because we as entrepreneurs, especially entrepreneurs like myself, running four different companies all at one time, we have the financial advising with the investments, insurance, and putting together your whole financial portfolio. Then we got the credit repair business, and then we have the nonprofit organization, as well as KBBU. So it's not easy for me to just say, okay, well, I got to stop and I got to figure out who I need to connect with. It's just like a hit or miss. So to have you, Mika, to have the connectium, like this is like a heaven sent for me. Because, like, you've connected me to two people already. Well, more than two people, but the last two people that you connected me with, someone that can help with the websites, someone that can also help with the AI. I'm talking about AI. Like everybody needs to know how to work AI. And as business owners, a lot of us are rejecting it when we should be embracing it because it's not going away. It's definitely something that we need to implement into our companies because some of us may be out of business, just like we were back during COVID, if we don't get on board with artificial intelligence.
Absolutely.
It
And
will.
it's time to work smarter and not harder. Um,
Yes.
Dr. Darius said, it's hard to hate what you understand.
Ooh, it is.
And
It
so many
is.
people are disliking things that they don't even understand.
Don't have any knowledge
Um,
about it.
but that's a whole nother subject because I am an AI evangelist. Okay.
All
Let me tell
right.
you, my chat GPT has a name. His name is Kai. Okay.
Love it. I
And
love
Kai has
it.
changed my life.
I'm telling you, for real, all of our lives that are on board. So if you are late to the game, it's time for you to get on board. It's time for you to get on the train and drink the Kool-Aid, as they say. Okay, so you came in to KBBU, you got a new business, and then you graduated, got your certificate finally. A little bit of delay on that. My fault, my fault. But then you went into the VIP master's class. How was that different for you from the
Woo,
undergraduate?
child, do we have time? That particular class, one, it helped made sense of everything we had just learned.
Hmm.
But that was also the second phase of implementation, as well as the encouragement of the implementation. Um,
Yes.
it it it's the phase two. How can I explain it? It is the phase two of realizing that everything you've been through was not in vain.
Okay.
It is another level of moving the dream forward, because in phase one of the undergraduate, you're getting all this knowledge, and yes, you're working on the business. But I believe in phase two, it's stamping that you're doing the right thing with all the
Mhm.
knowledge that you've just received.
Love it, love it, love it. So you came through the VIP master's class, and now your business is back in motion. You're doing your thing. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with you now.
So after the VIP class, the master's class, it helped teach me to be a master at my craft. It also taught and it installed another level of confidence. Because one of my biggest hangups was I was not charging properly. And you're getting
Oh,
exposed to people that are either in different industries, similar industries, that are successful, and it makes you sit and think, okay, if they can do it, I can do it. But what is that in between? What is that barrier? And the barrier is confidence. It's not doubt, it's not guilt, it's confidence. Because when you're confident, you move different and you're able to
yes.
ask, and my price is my price. And guess
Correct.
what? Yesterday's price may not be today's price. So you better get
It
on
ain't.
today. But being around other successful entrepreneurs, I mean, in that master VIP class, you brought in some amazing high level business owners, who help install that confidence, and being able to be with the coaches as well. It's just a phenomenal marriage, is what it is. Marrying knowledge to the gift that God is giving you, because many of us
Mhm.
are anointed to do
Mhm.
whatever it is that we do, that God has called you to do in business, in the marketplace. But if you do not become skillful, you get left behind. That
Woo!
is what KBBU has helped me to do, become more skillful at the gift God has given us.
That is so good. Thank you so much. Like, wow, wow, wow. I'm trying to tell you, you making me want to go ahead and start up another VIP over the summer just from what you said. And I know I said that we're going to wait until October because we're having this big media and wealth event in October. So it's like, I don't know. You got me all motivated over here, Mika. I might have to do something for y'all, okay?
Well, I think what also we get stagnated, right? And so I
Yes.
could have just taken the undergraduate class and been at that level and been just okay. But I think going to that next level, oftentimes what happens is you don't know that there's more because you're not around others who are doing it better than you. So sometimes we will settle at a level, but when you take the VIP class, you're exposed to people where, how can I put this nicely? The people that you bring aren't afraid to give you knowledge. They aren't
Yes.
afraid to give you their formula for success.
That's it.
And that is the beauty of the VIP class because, many of us will take these webinars and we've all been there. We paid that
Yes.
money for
Yeah.
these webinars where they just give you a taste and then they upsell you.
Yep.
Where you're bringing people to us that are
Yes.
willing to give us the formula. Because guess what? Your gift is your gift. Their gift is like me giving you the formula for what worked is not going to hinder my business. Actually, it's going to
Right.
bless it because now I'm sowing seeds into other people's lives. Now, don't get me to preach it.
All right now, come on. Tell
Wondering why
them
your
about it.
harvest is looking a little skimpy because you've been stingy with your seeds.
Ooh, they've
But
been
KBBU,
stingy.
honey, they throwing them seeds out. And you better catch it.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with KBBU. Now, is there any final words that you would like to share about what you're doing now or about your business or even just a word for the entrepreneur out there that's just like, I don't know about this thing that I'm doing?
What I will say is there is clarity in silence.
Mm,
And one of the things that KBBU helped me to do is to get quiet long enough um, and to have the professor take time with you to listen and encourage and instruct and provide guidance. It was in me getting quiet, getting clarity that you then could help me with the real vision.
mhm.
And through this journey, what I realized was it is so important for you to understand who you are and what God has called you to do because you would be operating at either a basic level or a level of frustration. Because when
Mm,
you don't understand who you are, you will do things just for the money and still not
okay.
find fulfillment.
Ooh,
And
that's
so
so
for
good.
me, sitting quiet enough to get clarity in what it is I really wanted to do, because in the social media management and all the things that I was doing, I realized that I don't like implementation. And I
Oh,
realized that I am anointed to connect. I could be standing in a grocery store and overhear a conversation, and then my brain starts turning. Oh, I need to connect them. Or have they ever heard about this? Or have they ever thought about that? And so, me leaning into what was there all along, because oftentimes we're searching for purpose outside of ourselves when it's inside. Let me tell you what your
ooh,
purpose is, something that people always call for you to do and help with, and something that comes so natural. And if you
yeah,
don't understand what your purpose is, ask the people around you. They'll tell
yes.
you. Why? What do you think people always come to me to do? I mean, I've had people call me about a babysitter. I'm like, my kids are grown. I have a 25-year-old and a 21-year-old. But because I love helping in that concierge side of me, I'm going to do the research. And guess what? When you are working with the Connectium, I'm going to connect you with someone who's been vetted, someone
That
who's been
part.
tried and true.
That part.
Um, but back to my point, I only found that when I sat still long enough to understand one, what I don't want to do, what I don't like doing, which was the implementation. And a good teacher is going to get you with someone who knows how to do the job the best. And as
Yes.
entrepreneurs, we try to do it all versus reaching out to our
Mhm.
circles and figuring out how can I work smarter and not harder. So sit still, Get some clarity on what it is you really feel you're called to do. That way, when you enter KBBU, she's helping you with the right vision. And that's what she did
Amen.
with me. You helped me get to the right the right goal. But you
That's your
can't help us do
purpose.
that if we don't sit still enough to get the clarity on what it is we're really called to do. Because we get
Oh,
excited because we saw someone else doing it and they're good at it because that's what they were called to do.
right.
And here's the last thing I'll leave because I even though
I
we're
love
on here
it.
talking
I'm
about the
loving this. I'm
kingdom,
all in. I'm all in. Let's talk. Let's talk.
this
Okay.
is the last thing I think I'm gonna say is, especially coming from corporate America, many of us are afraid to take that leap because we feel like the gift God has given us isn't going to be enough.
Hmm.
And so I still do goal coaching. I help people with their goals. And one of the things that I tell a lot of people who are in corporate looking to go into entrepreneurship is don't you dare diminish the God that's inside of you to tell him the gift he's given you isn't enough. Baby, the gift God has given you could exceed
Yes.
even the biggest dream you had for your life.
Hello.
It will exceed even further than what you even imagined in your life. And so
Yes.
sit down, get quiet, and understand your gift, but also understand that when that scripture says he will make room for you, your gift will make room for you in this
Yes,
kingdom,
ma'am.
it's the gift he's giving you will make room for you and your bank account to do what it is he's called you to do.
Mm,
And I
mm, mm, mm.
digress.
I love it. I love it. Well, there you have it. I told y'all she was amazing. Didn't I tell
Oh,
y'all you were in for a treat today? Listen, if you didn't get anything from today's Where Are They Now, then something's wrong. Maybe you just need to go get a job and just stay at that job for the rest of your life. Because I'm trying to tell you, these nuggets that were dropped today. Thank you so much, Mika. Like that was fire. Incredible. And thank you for coming on today. We are so, oh my goodness, I'm so proud of your journey and everything that you have overcome, the challenges that you face, the things that you were afraid of, but you still pushed through. You are such an amazing and beautiful individual. And I cannot thank you enough for being who you are. Oh, right back at you, right back at you. Oh my goodness. Oh, but thank you so much. Thank you so much. So that's all we have for today, guys. We just want to remind you to make sure that you hit that subscribe button at kb.michellegreen. Set your timer, your notifications to make sure you're not missing out on the KBBU. Where Are They Now? Every Tuesday again at 6 p.m. powered by CTR Media Network. Until next week, we'll see you then. Y'all